Hi, welcome back to video 5 in our series of Retire on Less Money. I asked the question when I do a lot of my live programs, and I get varying answers about creating a lifetime of higher income. So I'll ask the question, who would like more income? And some people raise their hand, and then I ask, how would you like to do that while paying less taxes? There's one idea. It's called a SIPS. And a SIPS is Scheduled Income Portfolio System. Sometimes they refer to it as a TREE, a Tiered Retirement Equity Enhancement. And these are programs that allow you to get increasing income, but decreasing taxes. How a SIPS works, it's pretty straightforward. It's designed, it is a retirement program that's designed so that your monthly income increases while your overall tax decreases. And the best part of the program, it's mathematically structured so that your principal never diminishes. And that's important to a lot of retirees. I want to know that my income is going up so I can help look at inflation, any extra costs as time goes on. I want to alleviate a sequence of return risk and any of the systematic risks that are out there. I also want to control my taxes because I know taxes are going to go up in the future. So I want to do that, and I don't want to deplete my balance because I may need that in the future. Let's use an example of how a SIP makes sense. Now, I use the CD earning 5% interest. Now, I did that for simple math, and I get numerous phone calls or emails, and they want to know what bank is paying 5%. I kind of laugh with them, and I said it's strictly just for doing the math. So if you had a CD, it was earning 5%. At $100,000 in that CD, you would generate about $5,000 worth of income. Now, at the $5,000 level, if you take it monthly, if you said, I want a monthly income from that, the benefit would be, or your income would be, about $417 a month. And I'll ask the question, is the whole $417 yours? And folks will say yes, or some will say no. And the answer is no, it's not. There's taxes due. So if you use the $417 less taxes and figure about $104, the net to you in this case would be $313. Now what I used about 25% taxes for federal, state, and Social Security. That's fairly reasonable because I did include all three levels of taxation in those numbers. Let's take a look using that the 313 number and see how much better we can do. Using the SIP, we're going to start with the same $100,000. Now remember, our income net before was $313 a month. We're going to do something pretty interesting. We're going to take the $100,000 and split it into 4 pots, buckets, accounts, whatever you want to call them, with 4 separate items. The first $26,511 is going to generate an income for you over the first 5 years, and that income is going to be $459. So if you look right off the bat, we went from $313 to $459. Now the second bucket or pot of the $21,218, in those 5 years, it's growing so that when the 5 years are up, the $459 stops, and now what kicks in is a benefit of $492. Now that's where you get the benefit increase in there. Now, if you look at the $16,027, that is growing for the first 5 years, that's growing for the second 5 years, and as that $492 ends in 5 years later, then that benefit kicks in, and now it's paying at $509. So that's going to pay for 5 years. Now, meanwhile, the last pot of money that started at $36,000 went to $50,000, went to 71, is now back to the $100,000. So the concept here with the SIPs is you're getting an increase in your monthly income. You're getting the pot returned as it started back to the $100,000. But now look, and you're going to see the tax difference. Out of the $459, 96.28% of that money is tax-free. 71% and 64% as you go down the line. So what we're trying to do is conceptually is keep taxes down, using the money to generate a higher income, but returning the principal. We're not cannibalizing that principal. It's still available to use. And if you're still alive in the 20 years, you can start the process over again. Now, the problem, it's pretty straightforward. 98% of boomers will be trapped by the 8 risks that we talked about: systematic risks, sequence of returns, longevity, inflation, healthcare and healthcare costs, mitigating taxes, the phantom wealth, asset allocation and product allocation, then unknown unknowns. Now, remember, and I always kind of refer back to the book. The book gives a lot more detailed explanation of all these risks and how you can alleviate them with more ideas than are brought up just in the video alone. Love Mark Twain. Couple of his quotes: 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the ones you did. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So these are some of the things, and I kind of like some of these quotes from these old timers. They have a lot of meaning, especially at least to our generation. Now, if you're retired or nearing retirement, and as we refer back into the book, it's I call the retirement bad zone: 10 years before retirement and the 10 years after retirement. So we're looking at a 20-year period that becomes very crucial to maintain a sustainable retirement. Now, you really can't have any losses in those 20 years. It's critical, and the thing that's very, very important is a critical rule that Warren Buffett uses. Rule number 1, never lose any money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. As we grew up, we learned of 2 investment worlds. One was the world of protection, and the other was the world of potential. When we look at the world of protection, it was safety. It was the banks, CDs, government treasuries, insurance products, life insurance, fixed annuities. These were called safe. They all had something in common. It was principal is guaranteed, your interest is guaranteed, and many times there were penalties for early withdrawal. And in contrast, and this is in contrast to the world of potential. The world of potential, it was your mutual funds, brokerage houses, stocks, bonds, variable annuities, oil shelters, or your tax shelters. This is where you looked for growth in the dollars. Now, they share things in common as well. Your principal is not guaranteed. Your interest is not guaranteed. And you needed time to be on your side. What changed is people are familiar with those worlds. I mean, that's what we grew up with. Either you were going to go to a bank and put your money in it, or you were going to go to a mutual fund or a stock and invest your money in that particular thing. What changed is this. There is the third investment world that kind of was designed out of necessity by shortcomings in the first 2 worlds. When we take the world of protection and all its benefits, we add it to the world of potential with all its possible good things as well as its negatives, we created a third investment world. And the third investment world starts with guarantees from the world of protection, but it links its growth to the world of potential. What's important to understand is that when you look to the left or to the right, there could be something in the center that combines the both into something that's solid. It's important to understand, retirement is not going to be like our parents. Like my mom has her Social Security, she has a pension from work, she has some savings. We need to do something a little different. We need to try and get $2 or $3 of value for every dollar that we spend. I call it the money multiplier. I refer to that in the book. And as we look at a money multiplier, how could I, if I'm going to spend $1, how could I get $2, $3, or even more dollars worth of value from each particular dollar? Now, one example is to stretch $1, and let's say try to get $3 value out of it, is something that was passed. It's called the PPA of '06. The PPA is the Pension Protection Act of 2006. Now, unfortunately, when the government puts in these rules, they call them things, and how savings has to do with your pension, how long-term care, it doesn't make any sense, but that's the way they design. They just stick all kind of things in the rule. But it's actually, the law came under 2006 Pension Protection Act. And it allows you to do many things. One, it allows you to save the cost of buying long-term care insurance and allows you to use that money for other purposes. Number one, we can save the cost of buying the insurance. If anybody has it, they can possibly save the cost. They may not need it anymore. So, and these policies are not inexpensive. But the benefits that come out of this act was, one, it allows you to get a tax-free income stream. I didn't say tax-deferred, a tax-free income stream. So it allows you to change the face of these dollars from an outgoing cost to a possible tax-free income stream. Now, besides no taxes, there's no effect on your MAGI. That's the modified adjusted gross income. That's very important when we talk about your Medicare and your Parts B and D of Medicare. It's also important for the tax you pay on Social Security. MAGI is the determining number, and that determines if your Social Security is taxed at that 50 or 85% level. Now, what's important, it also allows you to use that money to pay for care if you ever need it. But the most important thing is, if you don't need it, it allows for tax-free passing of that money to family. So when you look at the benefits, you have to understand there's a huge opportunities out there in the difference with the third investment world and how to multiply $1 and get $2 or $3 or more dollars worth of value out of it. Alleviating the 8 risk using the SIPs and the PPA, and there are many, many other safe ideas that allow you to retire on less money, less risk, while creating more income. Some of them are addressed in the book, but again, if you have any questions, use the Q&A option for additional information that you may need. I'll get that out to you as soon as possible. Now, that's the end of video 5. We're going to do a quick review of some of the highlights in this section. We talked about the SIPs and creating a lifetime of higher income. The great majority of boomers will be trapped in those risks. We went over Mark Twain's quotes and Warren Buffett's quotes. We talked about the 2 investment worlds. We also touched on the third investment world, a hybrid of both, getting multiple dollars in value for every dollar we spend, the Pension Protection Act of 2006, alleviating the 8 risks by using SIPs and other ideas. That's going to conclude the series on retire on less money, less risk, and more income. Just to let you know or remind you that there are other programs, the Social Security program, the Medicare program, and the tax reduction strategies for living well that are included in this series. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. Welcome back, folks. I want to thank you for finishing your video series. I hope that you send some feedback as far as the programs, how they're going, what needs to get done, improved, or changed. We'll gladly do that as we go forward with our next, as we update our topics. As far as the next topics are concerned, we have remember the 4 different topics that we introduced. So you feel free to take any of those topics. Just give us a call, and we'll make sure you have an access code to access those rest of the videos. Thank you very much for enjoying. I hope you enjoyed the series. Thank you. Bye now.